They tell you war makes you stupid. That adrenaline and exhaustion dull the edges of judgment until you're just meat with a rifle. Following orders, surviving one breath at a time. I believed that for 11 years. Believed it through the Proxima campaign, through the Belt massacres, through the siege of Kepler 442b, where we lost 40,000 humans in 6 hours. I believed it right up until the moment I stood in the throne room of the Zathrin Imperial Citadel, covered in ash and blood, staring at the alien princess kneeling before me, and made the single most catastrophic decision of my life. Not because I was stupid, but because for the first time in my entire God-forsaken career, I thought I was being smart. My name is Marcus Chen. Sergeant, 3rd Colonial Shock Infantry, Earth Expeditionary Force. And this is how I accidentally started a war within a war. Fell in love with a creature who could kill me 17 different ways without moving. And learned that humans aren't special because we're tough. We're special because we're too stubborn to recognize when we're outmatched. The Zathrin homeworld smelled like burning copper and ozone when we breached the atmosphere. I remember that detail because my helmet's filtration system had taken shrapnel during the drop, and I spent the entire descent tasting my own blood mixed with alien air. The Empire had held this sector for 3,000 years. 3,000 years of subjugating colonies, strip mining inhabited worlds, treating sapient species like livestock. Humanity had only been in the war for 14 months, and we were losing. Badly. But Command had a plan. They always had a plan. This one involved a surgical strike on the Zathrin capital during their High Ascendancy Festival, when the entire ruling caste gathered in one location. 50 of us. 50 human soldiers against a fortress that had never fallen, protected by technology that made our best weapons look like sharpened sticks. We lost 32 in the first hour. The Citadel's interior was obsidian and crystal, geometry that hurt to look at, angles that shouldn't exist in 3-dimensional space. Zathrin architecture was designed to intimidate, and it worked. Each corridor felt like walking into a predator's throat. Their warriors were 7 feet tall, 4-armed, with skin like polished chrome, and eyes that burned with bioluminescence. They moved like liquid death. They also died like anything else when you put enough depleted uranium through their skulls. I killed 6 of them getting to the throne room, maybe 7. You stop counting after a while, not because you're desensitized, but because remembering is harder than forgetting, and survival requires a very short memory. Lieutenant Reeves died 3 meters from the throne room doors, a plasma lance through her chest. She looked at me, tried to say something, and then just stopped. That's how it happens, usually. No dramatic final words, no poetic closure, just a person, and then not. I kicked the doors open with Corporal Davies at my back. He had a broken arm and was running on stim shots and spite. Inside, the room opened into a cathedral of light. Holographic stars wheeled across the domed ceiling. The throne itself was carved from a single massive crystal that pulsed with inner fire. And kneeling before it, surrounded by the bodies of her own guards, was her Princess Veyra of the 6th House, last surviving member of the Imperial bloodline. I'd seen her image in briefings. Intelligence called her a figurehead, a ceremonial relic kept alive for political theater. They said she had no military training, no political power, no value except as a symbol. Intelligence was wrong about a lot of things. She was smaller than I expected. Maybe 5.5 feet tall, slender by Zathrin standards, with skin that shifted between silver and deep violet depending on the light. Her forearms were bound in ceremonial chains, her eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangular pattern across her face, burned with amber fire. She wore robes of midnight blue that were torn and stained with ichor. Not her own, I realized. The guards around her had died trying to protect her. Or maybe she'd killed them herself. Hard to tell. Davies kept his rifle trained on her. I lowered mine slightly, not because I trusted her, but because the tactical situation had changed. The mission was decapitation, kill the ruling caste, cripple their command structure, buy humanity enough time to regroup. But the ruling caste was dead. We'd just fought through their corpses, which meant Command's plan had actually worked or was about to collapse spectacularly. Any others? I asked Davies. My voice sounded wrong in the massive space, flat and human. Scanners show negative, he said. We're it. I looked at Veyra. She looked back. Those three eyes saw things our two couldn't. I knew that much from the xenobiology reports. Zathrin perception operated on spectrums humans couldn't process. She was seeing me, really seeing me, in ways I couldn't comprehend. You are the conquerors, then, she said in perfect, unaccented English. The humans... Her voice was strange, musical, but with harmonic layers underneath, like three people speaking in perfect synchronization. It made my teeth ache. We're what's left of them, I said. She tilted her head, studying me. 18 of you entered the Citadel. I counted the resonance signatures. How many remain? Enough. A lie. I can hear your heartbeat, Sergeant Marcus Chen. I can smell the fear hormones in your sweat. You are alone except for this damaged one beside you. She glanced at Davies. His arm is shattered. He has perhaps 30 minutes before shock claims him. You know this. I did know this. Davies knew it too. He just wasn't saying anything because that's what soldiers do. We pretend we're fine until we're not. Command will want to know what to do with you, I said. We have protocols for high-value prisoners. Protocols? Veyra's voice carried something that might have been amusement. You mean leverage? You hope to ransom me for favorable terms? Sadly, your intelligence has failed you. I have no value to my people. My sisters were the warriors. My brothers were the diplomats. I was the scholar, the keeper of dead traditions. With them gone, the Zathrin Empire will fragment into warring houses within hours. My survival means nothing. Then why chain you? Davies asked. Why guard you? Because they hoped I might escape, she said quietly. Because among my people, hope requires a vessel, no matter how empty. That's when the Citadel shook, not from weapons fire, but from something deeper, structural. I felt it in my bones, that subsonic rumble that meant very bad things were about to happen. The resonance cores, Veyra said. Your assault damaged the primary stabilizers. This structure is built on gravitic suspension. When it fails, it will take half the capital city with it. Davies looked at me. I looked at the princess. She looked at both of us with those burning amber eyes. How long? I asked. 15 minutes, perhaps less. The smart move was to leave her, execute her if ordered, or just let the building do it for us. The smart move was to grab whatever intelligence we could carry and get to the extraction point before the entire Citadel became a crater. The smart move was to treat her like what she was, an enemy combatant from a species that had been trying to exterminate humanity for over a year. But I'd been making smart moves my entire life. Smart moves that got good people killed. Smart moves that won battles and lost pieces of my soul. So instead, I made the dumbest decision of my career. Right of conquest, I said. Davies stared at me. Veyra went very still. What? Davies said. It's in the Zathrin Articles of War, I said. I actually read the briefings. When a Zathrin force is defeated, the victor has the right to claim a single token of victory. A weapon, a banner, a prisoner, right of conquest. That's for Zathrin victors, Davies said. The articles don't specify species, I interrupted. They specify combatants. We're combatants. We won. I'm claiming her. Veyra's three eyes widened slightly. It was the first genuine emotion I'd seen from her. You cannot, she said. "You do not understand what that means. It means you're mine until I say otherwise," I said. "It means you're coming with us. It means you don't get to die in this building with everyone else." "Marcus," Davies said quietly, "this is insane." "Yeah," I said, "but so was this entire mission, and we're still breathing." I grabbed Veyra's chains and hauled her to her feet. She was lighter than I expected. All lean muscle and coiled strength. She didn't resist. She just looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. "You have made a terrible mistake, Sergeant Marcus Chen," she said, "and you will spend the rest of your life understanding exactly how terrible." "Add it to the list," I said. We ran. The Citadel was dying around us. Corridors collapsing, gravity fields failing in random pockets that sent debris floating past our heads. Davies was fading fast, stumbling every few meters. I had Veyra's chains in one hand and him propped against my shoulder with the other. The extraction point was 2 kilometers away, through a city that was actively trying to kill us. Zathrin civilians scattered as we passed. They didn't attack. They just watched with those luminous eyes. And I realized they were mourning. Their entire government had just been decapitated. Their capital was collapsing. And here was a human soldier dragging their last princess through the streets like a prize animal. We must have looked like monsters. Maybe we were. The dropship was waiting at the edge of the civic plaza. Engines screaming, bay doors open. 12 other soldiers had made it to extraction. 12 out of 50. Captain Oswald was bleeding from a head wound, but still functional. He saw me dragging Veyra, and his expression went through about 6 different emotions in 2 seconds. "What the hell is that?" he shouted over the engine noise. "High-value prisoner," I shouted back. "Right of conquest." "Right of what?" I didn't have time to explain. The ground beneath us was fracturing, massive cracks spreading across the plaza like black lightning. I threw Veyra into the dropship, hauled Davies up behind her, and scrambled in as the pilot punched the thrusters. We lifted off as the Citadel's central spire collapsed in on itself, a pillar of obsidian and crystal folding like paper. The shockwave caught us, sent the ship spinning. Alarms screamed. Someone was praying in Spanish. The pilot fought the controls with everything she had. We broke atmosphere doing Mach 6 in a craft that wasn't rated for Mach 3. In the troop bay, I sat with my back against the bulkhead, watching Veyra. She'd curled into herself, those forearms wrapped around her torso, chains clinking softly. She was trembling. I realized she was crying. Not human crying. Her skin flickered through colors I didn't have names for, and a low harmonic keening came from somewhere deep in her chest. "Why?" she asked, not angry, just broken. "Why claim me? What purpose does it serve?" I didn't have a good answer. The adrenaline was fading, and exhaustion was filling the space it left behind. My hands were shaking. I could still smell Lieutenant Reeves' burned flesh. I could still see the way those Zathrin guards had died protecting their princess. I could still feel the weight of 32 dead friends on my shoulders. "Because someone should survive this," I said finally. "And it wasn't going to be them." She looked at me with those 3 burning eyes. "You are a fool, Marcus Chen, but perhaps a noble one. I have not yet decided which is worse." "Let me know when you figure it out," I said. The dropship shuddered. Weapons fire. Zathrin interceptors had found us. The pilot banked hard, countermeasures screaming into the black. A moment later, the main fleet's point defense batteries lit up the sky, and our pursuers dissolved into expanding clouds of superheated plasma. We docked with the ESS Thermopylae 30 minutes later. By then, Davies had coded twice. The medics brought him back both times, but he'd lost his arm at the shoulder. He'd live, though. Most of us would live. Living was almost worse than the alternative, because living meant facing what we'd done. Captain Oswald put Veyra in the brig immediately, standard protocol for enemy prisoners. He also put a 24-hour guard on her cell and ordered full psionic shielding, even though the techs kept insisting Zathrin didn't have psionics. I wrote my after-action report in the mess hall at 300, unable to sleep. 50 soldiers deployed. 13 returned. Mission objective achieved. Enemy leadership eliminated. 1 high-value prisoner secured through right of conquest. I left out the part where I had no idea what I was going to do with her. Command didn't care about that detail. They cared that we'd broken the Zathrin Empire's back. Within 48 hours, 3 of the major houses declared independence. 2 more dissolved into civil war. The military structure collapsed. The siege lines around human colonies began to falter. We'd won. Humanity had actually won. And all it cost was most of my squad, 500,000 Zathrin civilians, and my last remaining shred of certainty that I was one of the good guys. They promoted me to lieutenant, gave me a medal, told me I was a hero. They also told me I was now legally responsible for Princess Veyra under both human military law and Zathrin articles of war. The right of conquest wasn't symbolic, it was binding. She was mine, my responsibility, my burden, my prisoner, my problem. I went to see her in the brig on my 3rd day aboard the Thermopylae. She was sitting cross-legged on the deck, eyes closed, those 4 hands moving through complex patterns in the air. Meditation, maybe, or prayer. Hard to tell. "Come to gloat?" she asked without opening her eyes. "Come to figure out what happens next," I said. "What happens next is you keep me in this cage until your command structure decides whether I'm useful," she said. "Then they will either ransom me to the fragment houses for political advantage, or execute me to prevent my becoming a symbol of resistance. In both cases, your precious right of conquest becomes meaningless, and you will have saved my life only to prolong my suffering." She opened her eyes, all 3 of them. "So yes," she said, "I suppose you have come to gloat." "That's not—" I stopped. Started again. "What would you do, if you could choose?" "Why does it matter?" "Because I claimed you," I said, "which apparently means I'm responsible for you, and I've made enough bad choices this week without adding one more." Veyra studied me for a long moment, then she smiled. It was a terrible expression on her alien face, full of teeth and sadness. "You really don't understand what you've done, do you?" "Apparently not. The right of conquest is not ownership, Marcus Chen." "It is." She searched for words. "A blood bond, an oath of mutual obligation. By claiming me, you have sworn to protect me, and I have sworn to serve you. Our lives are bound until one of us releases the other, or death claims us both." I stared at her. "The briefings didn't mention that part. Your briefings were incomplete, as is most human understanding of my people." She stood, moving with that liquid grace that all Zathrin possessed. "You wanted to save me, noble, if foolish. But you have done more than save me. You have made me yours, and in doing so, you have made yourself mine." "I don't want to own anyone," I said quietly. "Good," Veyra said, "because you cannot. But you can honor the bond you created, or you can break it, and shame us both. How do I honor it?" She moved closer to the energy barrier separating us. This close, I could see the fine scales on her skin, the way her eyes caught and reflected light in impossible ways. She was beautiful, alien, terrifying, completely inhuman, and beautiful. "You listen," she said. "You learn, and when the time comes, you trust me to do what I was trained to do." "Which is?" "Survive," she said, "no matter the cost." That's when the alarm started screaming. Proximity alerts, multiple contacts. The ship's defensive batteries opened up, and I felt the impacts through the deck plating. Veyra's expression changed instantly, those 3 eyes blazing brighter, her whole body tensing like a drawn bow. "Fragment house warships," she said. Seventh house. If I'm reading the resonance signatures correctly, they've come for me. How do you know that? Because I would do the same. A living princess is worth more than 10 dead ones. Whoever controls me controls the narrative of what comes next. The ship rocked. Harder this time. Something had gotten through the point defense. We need to move you, I said. Secure location, away from the brig. They already know where I am. Veyra interrupted. Your human ships leak sensor data like wounded vessels leak atmosphere. They will board. They will fight their way here. And they will kill everyone between them and this cell unless... Unless what? She met my eyes. Unless you let me help you stop them. You're a prisoner. I am your responsibility, she corrected. And if this ship falls, we both die. The bond does not care about your regulations or your pride. It cares about survival. Another impact. Closer. The lights flickered. I could hear boots pounding down the corridor outside, Marines rushing to defensive positions. We had maybe 2 minutes before this became a boarding action. I made a decision, probably another stupid one. I overrode the cell's security. The energy barrier dropped. Veyra stepped through, those chains still binding her arms. She looked at me expectantly. I'm not removing those, I said. Not yet. Then how do you expect me to fight? I don't. I expect you to tell me how they'll attack, where they'll breach, and how we stop them without losing half the crew. She smiled that terrible smile again. You do learn quickly, Marcus Chen. She was right about the breach point. They came through the portside airlock on Deck 7, cutting through the outer hull with plasma torches hot enough to turn titanium into vapor. 20 Zathrin shock troops in full combat exoskeletons. They moved like a surgical blade through soft tissue. But Veyra knew their tactics, knew their formations, knew exactly how they'd exploit human defensive positions. They'll feint toward engineering, she said, watching the tactical display in the command center. Captain Oswald had grudgingly allowed her presence after I explained that we'd all be dead without her. Draw your forces there, then collapse back toward the brig. Standard extraction protocol. So we reinforce the brig, Oswald said. No, you let them reach it. Then you seal every bulkhead between them and their ship. That would trap them inside. Yes, with no hostage, no escape route, and air that will run out in approximately 3 hours. They will surrender or suffocate. Either outcome serves you. She was right. We let them come. Sealed them in. They fought hard for 20 minutes before their commander realized the trap. The surrender negotiations took longer than the actual fight. Oswald looked at Veyra with something approaching respect. You just saved 200 human lives. I saved myself, she corrected. Marcus Chen's life is bound to mine. Therefore, this ship's survival serves my interests. Do not mistake pragmatism for altruism, Captain. But I saw her expression when the Zathrin prisoners were brought through under heavy guard. She recognized some of them, maybe friends, maybe family, maybe just people from her world. And she watched them go with something like grief in those burning eyes. After that, Command's attitude changed. Suddenly, Veyra wasn't just a prisoner. She was an asset, an intelligence source, a tactical advisor. They wanted debriefs, strategic analyses, cultural insights. They wanted everything she knew about Zathrin military doctrine, house politics, and technological capabilities. They wanted to use her to win the war faster. She agreed to cooperate, but only if I was present for every session. The bond, she explained when I asked why. You claimed me. That makes you my advocate. My voice. Without you present, I am merely a prisoner providing information under duress. With you, I am honoring an oath. That seems like a convenient distinction, I said. All important distinctions are convenient to someone, she replied. We spent 3 weeks aboard the Thermopylae before being transferred to Fleet Intelligence Headquarters on Europa Station. 3 weeks of debriefings, tactical sessions, and gradually learning to understand each other. The chains came off after the first week, once Veyra proved she wasn't a threat. She could have killed me a dozen times. Could have killed anyone, really. Zathrin were faster, stronger, and more lethal than humans in almost every measurable way. But she didn't. Because of the bond. Because she'd given her word. Because, somehow, against all logic and reason, she'd decided I was worth honoring. Europa Station was a converted mining facility orbiting Jupiter's most inhospitable moon. Grey corridors, recycled air that always tasted faintly of lubricant, and 30,000 personnel trying to coordinate humanity's desperate war effort. They gave us quarters near the intelligence wing. 2 rooms connected by a common area. Separate but linked. Like everything else about our arrangement. I started teaching Veyra about humans. Not the tactical stuff, she was learning that from the analysts. But the other things. Music. Food. Why we told jokes even when nothing was funny. Why we built monuments to our dead. Why we kept fighting even when logic said we should surrender. She absorbed it all with that intense, alien curiosity. Humans fascinated her the way exotic insects might fascinate a xenobiologist. We were small, fragile, short-lived, and technologically primitive. By every rational measure, we should have been crushed in the first month of the war. But we weren't, and she wanted to understand why. "You are terrified of death," she said one night. Sharing the meal I'd assembled from the station's commissary, human food, not the synthetic nutrient compounds they'd tried feeding her initially. She'd declared those nutritionally adequate and spiritually offensive. Yet you rush toward it constantly. You volunteer for suicide missions. You fight impossible battles. You sacrifice yourselves for abstractions like honor and duty. It makes no sense. Fear of death is what makes the sacrifice meaningful, I said. If we weren't afraid, it wouldn't be courage. It would just be momentum. Zathrin do not fear death. We see it as transition, a return to the cosmic resonance from which all life emerges. Sounds peaceful. It is empty, she said quietly. We do not fear death because we do not truly believe in life. We exist. We serve the Empire. We maintain order. But we do not. She searched for the word. We do not burn the way you do. The way you burned when you chose to save me instead of leaving me to die with dignity. Would you rather I had left you? She considered this for a long moment. Ask me again when our story ends. I will have a better answer then. She started teaching me about Zathrin in return, their history, their culture, the philosophical frameworks that made them seem cold and logical to human eyes. They weren't emotionless. They just experienced emotion on frequencies humans couldn't access. Their music was mathematics. Their art was quantum probability given form. Their deepest passions played out in spectrums of light our eyes couldn't process. Your people think we are machines, she said. Soulless automatons following programming, but we think you are chaos given flesh. Random motion mistaken for purpose. Both perspectives are incomplete. Both miss the truth. Which is that we are equally alive, equally desperate, equally doomed. Cheerful. Honest. She also started training me. Not officially. Command would have shut that down immediately. But in our quarters, late at night when the station cycled to sleep mode, she taught me how to fight the way Zathrin fought. How to read body language across species barriers. How to anticipate attacks from opponents faster and stronger than me. How to survive encounters that should have been fatal. You move like prey, she said, correcting my stance for the 20th time. Human military training teaches you to be efficient, controlled, predictable. These are prey behaviors. You must move like a predator, commit fully or not at all. Humans are persistence hunters, I said. We're built to chase things until they collapse from exhaustion. Yes, you are very good at dying slowly. Now learn to kill quickly. It was brutal. She didn't hold back. And I collected bruises in colors I didn't know existed, but I learned. The human body wasn't built for the kind of combat Zathrin specialized in. But it could adapt. It could improvise. That was our advantage. Not strength, not speed, adaptability. 3 months into our arrangement, command made it official. Lieutenant Marcus Chen was now the liaison officer for xenological intelligence, specifically assigned to manage Princess Veyra of the 6th House. It was a made-up position, but it gave us clearance to move around the station, access to classified information, and a thin veneer of legitimacy over what everyone understood was a very strange situation. We weren't just a soldier and a prisoner anymore. We were partners, colleagues, something that didn't have a name in either of our languages. The other soldiers didn't know what to make of us. Some thought I was a traitor. Others thought I was insane. A few understood that war makes strange alliances, and desperate times require desperate measures. Davies, recovered but minus an arm, fell into that last category. "She's good people," he said one day, watching Veyra dismantle a training simulation that had stumped human strategists for weeks. Weird as hell, but good people. "She's not people," I said. "Not human people, anyway." "Neither are you anymore," he said. "Not really. You're something else now. Both of you." He was right. The bond had changed us. I could feel Veyra's mood sometimes, like distant music just below conscious hearing. I knew when she was anxious, angry, or amused before she showed any outward sign. She claimed she could sense my emotions the same way, read my biorhythms like an open book. It should have been invasive. Instead, it was intimate, terrifying and intimate. 5 months after I claimed her, the fragment houses stabilized into 3 major powers. The 7th house controlled the old military infrastructure. The 3rd house controlled the economic centers. The 9th house controlled the outer colonies. They promptly declared war on each other and on humanity. We'd broken the empire, but we'd created something worse. A 3-way civil war with humanity caught in the middle, and all 3 factions now had something to prove. The attacks intensified. The 9th house hit our supply lines. The 7th house launched raids on colony worlds. The 3rd house blockaded trade routes. Humanity was winning, but only barely, and the cost kept climbing. That's when Veyra came to me with a proposal. "There is a weapon," she said. "Something my family protected for generations. A relic from the old wars before the Empire unified the home worlds. It could end this conflict. Force a peace through threat of mutual annihilation." "Mutually assured destruction," I said. "Humans tried that. It's insane." "All peace is insane when examined closely," she said. "But it works. If I can reach it, if I can activate it, if the houses believe I control it." Big ifs. Yes, but the alternative is decades more war. Millions more dead on both sides. Your species ground into dust, mine fragmented forever. She met my eyes, all 3 of them. "You claimed me to save 1 life. Let me use that bond to save millions." "Where is this weapon?" "The Tomb of First Resonance, deep in 9th house territory. A shrine my family built 10,000 years ago, heavily guarded. Considered sacred ground. So we'd have to fight our way in." "No," she said. "We would have to sneak, disguise, lie, use every dishonorable tactic your species has perfected." "Sounds like a human plan." "I have been learning from the best," she said with that terrible smile. I took the proposal to command. They hated it, called it reckless, impossible, a betrayal of every soldier who died fighting Zathrin. But they were also desperate. The war was eating humanity alive. if there was even a chance Veyra's plan could work. They approved the mission. 2-person team, me and Veyra, deep infiltration, no support, no extraction plan if things went wrong. We'd be alone in the heart of enemy territory, hunting for a weapon that might not even exist anymore, based on the word of an alien princess who had every reason to lie. "This is suicide," I said, reading the orders. "Yes," Veyra agreed. "But what in your career has not been?" Fair point. We shipped out on a stealth corvette 2 weeks later. The crew was skeleton minimal, 5 humans who'd volunteered for what they knew was likely a one-way trip. The ship was built for infiltration, covered in adaptive camouflage that bent sensor waves around its hull. Zathrin design, ironically, stolen and reverse-engineered from captured vessels. The journey to Ninth House territory took 11 days. 11 days in a ship barely larger than my old apartment, with nothing to do but prepare and worry. Veyra spent the time teaching me Zathrin customs, religious protocols, the specific ways to move and speak that might let me pass for a slave or servant if we were caught. "You will need to act subservient," she said. "Let me do the talking. Follow my lead in all things." "I'm not good at subservient." "No. But you are good at playing roles. You have been pretending to be a simple soldier since the day I met you. This is just another performance. What makes you think I'm pretending?" She touched my face with one of her 4 hands. Gentle, almost tender. "Because I can feel what burns inside you, Marcus Chen. The guilt, the rage, the desperate need to matter. You hide it well. But the bond knows. I know." "And what burns inside you?" I asked. "The same things," she said quietly. "Just in different colors." We dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Ninth House system. Ahead of us, the tomb of First Resonance orbited a dying red giant, a structure older than human civilization, built when Zathrin were still learning to manipulate gravity and light. It looked like a frozen flower, petals of crystallized time spreading outward from a central core that pulsed with bioluminescent fire. Beautiful, terrifying, impossible. "And there are guardians," Veyra said, studying the sensor returns. "Automated defenses, constructs left by my ancestors. They will not recognize me. I was too young when I last visited. We will have to convince them, or destroy them." "How do you convince a robot?" "You don't. You convince the intelligence inhabiting it, the ghosts of the dead, preserved in quantum matrices. My great-great-grandmother is one of them." Of course she was. We approached slowly, broadcasting Veyra's identity codes on every frequency. The tomb's defenses tracked us, but didn't fire. They were waiting, evaluating, deciding if we were worthy or if we were threats. The airlock cycled. We stepped into a cathedral of memory and light, and I realized this was where everything would change. Win or lose, live or die. Everything that came after started here. Veyra took my hand, 4 fingers wrapped around 5, alien and human, bound by choice and oath and something deeper than either. "Ready?" she asked. "No," I said. "Let's go anyway." The tomb's interior defied physics in ways that made my head hurt. Corridors bent upward and downward simultaneously. Gravity changed direction with each step. Light moved in patterns that shouldn't exist, casting shadows that fell in 5 directions at once. This was Zathrin architecture at its peak, built when they still remembered how to manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. Veyra navigated it like breathing. I stumbled after her, trying not to vomit, my human brain screaming that up was down and forward was backward. She steadied me with one hand, patient as we descended deeper into the structure. "The Guardians will appear soon," she said. "When they do, let me speak first. No matter what they say, no matter what they show you, trust the bond." "What are they going to show me?" Your failures, she said quietly. It is how they test worthiness. They manifest guilt, given form. Great. Just what I needed. The Guardian materialized in the central chamber, rising from the floor like liquid mercury taking shape. It was massive, 10 feet tall, with 6 arms and a face that flickered between different Zathrin features. Male, female, neither, both, ancient and young, dead and alive. When it spoke, the voice was Veyra's grandmother, her sister, her entire bloodline speaking as one. Princess Veyra of the 6th House, you return to the tomb of first resonance with an outsider, a human, a creature of chaos and violence. Explain your presence or face judgment. Veyra stepped forward, head high, every inch the princess she'd been born to be. I claim sanctuary under the old laws. I seek the weapon of last resort. The Empire has fallen. The houses war among themselves. Our people die by the thousands. Only the weapon can restore balance. The weapon was sealed for reason, the Guardian said. It is not meant for civil war. It is meant for extinction-level threats, invaders from beyond, horrors that threaten all life. Your human pet does not qualify. He is not my pet. He is my bonded. He claimed me by right of conquest. Our lives are bound until death or oath release separates us. The Guardian's attention shifted to me. Those flickering eyes saw through me, into me, reading every moment of my life like scanning a database. I felt it pulling at my memories, drawing forth the things I tried hardest to forget. Lieutenant Reeves dying 3 meters from the throne room. Davies losing his arm. The 32 soldiers who went into the Citadel and never came out. Every face, every name, every death I'd caused or failed to prevent. This one carries more guilt than blood, the Guardian said. He is broken, damaged. Why bind yourself to such weakness, Princess? Because his weakness is human, Veyra said, and humanity's weakness is also their greatest strength. They carry their dead with them. They remember. They grieve. They let pain reshape them instead of discarding it. He is strong because he refuses to let go of what hurts him. Sentiment. Emotional contamination. These are not strengths. Prove it, Veyra said. Test him. If he fails, judge us both unworthy. If he succeeds, grant us access to the weapon. The Guardian tilted its massive head. Very well. But understand, the test will break him or forge him. There is no middle ground. It touched my forehead with one crystalline finger. The world dissolved. I was back on the Zathrin homeworld, back in the Citadel. But this time, everything was different. The mission had failed. My squad was trapped, surrounded, dying slowly. Reeves was still alive, crying for help I couldn't give her. Davies was bleeding out, asking me why I'd led them into this trap. And Veyra, Princess Veyra, stood before me with a weapon, offering a choice. Kill me, she said. Execute me now, and the defenses will deactivate. Your squad will survive. Your mission will succeed. All it costs is my life. 1 alien for 18 humans. Simple mathematics. I raised my rifle, aimed at her head. My finger found the trigger. Reeves screamed behind me. Davies was praying. 11 years of service, 11 years of making the hard choices, all leading to this moment. 1 alien life against 18 human ones. But Veyra's 3 eyes held mine, and I felt it. The bond that didn't exist yet in this memory, the connection that had grown between us over months of talking, training, learning to see each other as more than enemies. Do it, she whispered. Save your people, Marcus Chen. It is the logical choice. Logic isn't what makes us human, I said. I lowered the rifle. The world around me began to collapse. My squad's screams intensified. The Zathrin defenses closed in. I'd chosen wrong. I'd doomed everyone. Enough. The Guardian's voice shattered the illusion. I was back in the tomb, on my knees, gasping. Veyra knelt beside me, holding me steady with all four arms. Her skin was flickering through colors that meant distress. He chose death over logic, the Guardian said, chose compassion over survival. He is either the wisest human I have encountered, or the most foolish. He is both, Veyra said, as are all his kind. That is why they survive when they should not. Why they win battles they should lose. Why they matter despite being small and fragile and brief. The Guardian was silent for a long moment. Then it stepped aside. The weapon awaits, but understand, it is not what you think. It never was. We entered the inner sanctum. The weapon of last resort sat on a crystalline pedestal, glowing with inner fire. It looked like nothing. A sphere. Maybe a foot in diameter. Translucent. Beautiful. Completely unremarkable. That's it? I asked. No, Veyra said, her voice strange. That's not a weapon. Then what is it? She reached out, touched the sphere. It pulsed once, and suddenly I understood. We both did. The information flooded into our minds through the bond, ancient knowledge preserved for this moment. It wasn't a weapon, it was a seed. A genetic archive containing the complete biological data of every species the Zathrin had ever encountered. Every world they'd conquered, every civilization they'd absorbed. Millions of years of life stored in quantum matrices, waiting. My ancestors didn't build a weapon, Veyra whispered. They built a resurrection engine, a way to restore what was lost, to undo genocide, to give back everything the Empire took. Why keep it secret? Because the Empire was built on conquest, on dominance, on the belief that Zathrin were meant to rule. This, she gestured to the sphere, this proves otherwise. It proves my people were thieves, murderers, everything humans accused us of being. I looked at the sphere, at Veyra, at the impossible choice before us. We could use this, I said slowly. Threaten to release it. Tell the houses that if they don't make peace, you'll resurrect every species they've ever destroyed. Give them enemies on every front. Yes, it would force peace through terror, just as I promised your command. She turned to me. But it would also be a lie. The sphere cannot resurrect the dead. It can only create new life from old templates, copies without memory, without history, without souls. They don't need to know that. No, she agreed. They do not. But I saw the expression in her eyes, the weight settling on her shoulders. The choice that would define her. Restore the Empire's honor by exposing its crimes, or save her people by building one final lie on top of 10,000 years of lies. What do you want to do? I asked. What I want is irrelevant. The hell it is. You're not just a princess anymore. You're Veyra, I searched for the word. My partner. My responsibility. My choice when I claimed you. So I'm asking, what do you want? She looked at me for a long moment. Then she smiled. That terrible, beautiful smile. I want to burn it all down, she said. The lies, the empire, the houses, everything my people built on the bones of others. I want to give the dead their names back, even if I cannot give them their lives. Then let's do that. Command will not approve. Your superiors want the weapon, want the leverage. They will see this as betrayal. Probably, I said. But I'm used to making bad choices, and this one feels right. We transmitted the sphere's data to every major communication hub in known space. Human, Zathrin, every other species caught in the war's crossfire. The complete genetic archive of 10 million extinct species. The Empire's entire history of conquest, genocide, and erasure. Proof. Undeniable, mathematical, encoded in the very building blocks of life itself. The fragment houses went silent. not because they surrendered, but because they had nothing left to say. Their legitimacy was ashes. Their claims to righteousness were dust. Everything they'd built crumbled under the weight of truth. Humanity didn't win the war. We just stopped needing to fight it. The Zathrin turned inward, each house wrestling with what it meant to exist in the shadow of such monumental crimes. Some fell apart, some reformed, some retreated to the far edges of space, seeking redemption or oblivion. Command wanted me court-martialed for disobeying orders. Then they realized I'd achieved what 3 years of warfare couldn't, an end to hostilities without firing another shot. They gave me another medal instead, another promotion, another title I didn't want. They offered Veyra asylum, protection, a place in the new order humanity was building. She declined. "My place is with him," she said, indicating me. "The bond remains until death or oath release." "You could ask for release," I said quietly, after the diplomats left. "You don't owe me anything anymore." "No," she agreed, "I do not owe you. But I choose you nonetheless, unless you wish to release me." I thought about it. Really thought about it. About returning to a normal life, a normal career. Pretending the last year hadn't happened. Pretending I hadn't changed into something that fit neither human nor Zathrin categories. "I don't," I said. "I choose you too, even knowing what I am, what my people did. You're not your people. You're just you. And that's enough." She touched my face again, gentle, almost reverent. "You are a strange creature, Marcus Chen. But I am grateful you claimed me, grateful you were foolish enough to see value in a defeated enemy." "Best bad decision I ever made," I said. They transferred us to a newly established outpost on the border between human and Zathrin space, a place for people who didn't quite fit anywhere else. Mixed species crews, cultural liaisons, people trying to build something new from the ruins of war. We trained others, taught humans to understand Zathrin, taught Zathrin to understand humans, helped both sides realize they'd been fighting shadows of their own fears instead of seeing each other clearly. It was hard work, frustrating. Some days it felt impossible. But we kept at it, because that's what you do when you survive. You find meaning in the wreckage. You build something worth protecting. Davies visited once. He'd gotten a prosthetic arm, returned to active duty, eventually retired to teach at the academy. He looked at us, me and Veyra, working side by side, and shook his head with that lopsided smile. "I told you," he said. "Something else, both of you." "Is that a good thing?" I asked. "Don't know yet," he said. "Ask me in 10 years. 10 years later, I still didn't have a good answer, but Veyra did. We stood on the observation deck of the outpost, watching ships come and go. Human vessels and Zathrin vessels, docking side by side, crews mingling on the promenade below. Not friends yet, not really, but not enemies either. Just people trying to figure out how to exist in the same universe. "I have decided," Veyra said. "Decided what?" "Whether you were a fool or a noble one. For claiming me, for refusing to let me die. And," she turned to face me, all 3 eyes bright with something that might have been love, or might have been something better that didn't have a human name. "You were both," she said. "Foolishness and nobility are not opposites, Marcus Chen. They are the same quality viewed from different angles. You were foolish enough to believe one life mattered more than victory, noble enough to honor that belief despite consequence. This is what makes you human. This is what makes you dangerous. Dangerous how? Because you make the rest of us believe it too. That individual lives matter more than empires. That mercy is strength rather than weakness. That choosing compassion over logic is not surrender, but revolution. She took my hand. You claimed me as a trophy of battle, but I think perhaps I have claimed you as well, as proof that the universe can be better than it was. Better than we were. That's a lot of weight to put on one stupid decision, I said. Yes, she agreed, but I have learned from the best. Humans specialize in carrying impossible weights. Below us, the station continued its work, building bridges, forging understanding, creating a future that neither species would have imagined 3 years ago. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't easy, but it was real, and it was ours, and that was enough. Veyra leaned against me, her 4 arms folding around my 2, alien and human intertwined. The bond hummed between us, strong as the day I'd claimed her, deeper than I'd ever thought possible. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For being foolish, for being noble, for choosing me when logic said you should not. Thank you for letting me, I said, for teaching me that trophies aren't prizes to be won. They're responsibilities to be honored. We taught each other, she corrected. That is what bonds do. We stood there as the stars wheeled overhead. 2 people who shouldn't exist together, bound by choice and oath and something deeper than either. A human who'd claimed an alien princess as a trophy of battle. An alien princess who'd claimed him right back. It was the dumbest decision I'd ever made, and I wouldn't change a single moment of it. Out among the stars, ships moved through the darkness, carrying their cargo of hope and fear and desperate faith in futures unwritten. The war was over. The peace was just beginning. And somewhere in that vast space between then and now, between human and alien, between what we were and what we chose to become, was us. 2 survivors, 2 fighters, 2 souls bound by foolishness and nobility in equal measure. It was enough. It had to be. It was. End.